maybe even something like the Aatrox, but at least something that they can get towards that top lane faster than the Lilia with how quick the Udyr clear is, and then turn that lane in their favor of Audi.
So it looks like they may be focusing towards the lane, but Gragas has been taken off the board, which we have seen being one of these incredibly strong top laners, does exceptionally well into the Renekton as well. Akali was removed. I'm going to assume that's from Cryan, but realistically, we do kind of have a mid laner up top in Xiaohu, so any of these picks of the mages can also be top lane bans in this weird scenario.
And I mean, the Renekton could even be mid lane as well. I mean, we've seen that flex towards Cryan, so I think they're just trying to cover all bases here as V5. You can see the Jace banned away, just in case there's any shenanigans, especially with this AP jungler there. However, I do expect coming in towards this next pick phase that you're going to be looking at the mid laner locked in nice and early. Now, we've already got the Zoe banned away. The Syndra is the next big 1-4 mole. I would like to see that picked up here. I think when you're running something like the Udyr, engage tools need to be coming in from other areas. We've already got the Leona that can work well with a Jhin, but also that Syndra can cater towards the long range of that AD carry while facilitating that engage as well.
Now, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Jace ban would lean towards a Gnar blind pick here, right? Because Jace is one of these picks that typically does well into that Gnar.
Yeah, exactly. And you're trying to just go, right, just in case they do the same as we saw in their last series, where they flex the Renekton in towards Cryan and then Xiaohu takes the Lucian or something like that topside, we're going to take or ban away the Jace, nullify some of these top lane advantages, and then we can pretty much guarantee that that Renekton is going to be going in towards that top side.
All right, well, over to RNG here as they're locking Alistar alongside the Xayah. And it's, I feel like we need a drum roll here as we discover whether this Renekton will be mid, whether it will be top, and what we see for the alternate player. Obviously, a lot of the mid lane is removed. It's going to be the Lucian, so realistically, either could still go to either lane.
And this is the thing. This is exactly what they did in their last series against OMG, where they had this flexibility there. And even though it was an unfair, like, what ended up happening was there was a Jax that was locked in on the opposite side. And although they ended up with a favorable matchup for Cryan in the mid lane, they actually had put more resources in towards Xiaohu and swapping that Renekton mid to give the better matchup towards the Lucian in the top side, towards Xiaohu in the top side. So we could end up seeing some of that again, because something that Gnar does struggle with is that range advantage, but we'll have to see exactly what way it is when we actually get in towards the game state. Although I'm looking on the left hand side, the matchup here is for the level or that third wave crash, I map to then as way put your attention towards these early dragons.
Hang on, Dagda. I think it was 22 seconds on the clock. They swapped things around. Xiaohu looks like he's taken the Lucian to the top lane, and it will be Renekton mid for Cryan once again. And I will say, Renekton versus range, not the funnest matchups ever. I'm not going to pretend I know every matchup for Renekton, but once again we see Cryan having to sacrifice himself in this mid lane to set Xiaohu up for success up top.
So the big thing that RNG will do when they put Cryan onto this mid lane Renekton is they'll try and get Cryan to shove that wave as fast as possible. And when they go for this level 3 dive in the top lane, they'll actually roam Cryan up as well. So now what they're trying to do is, when we were just talking about all this fiasco in the top lane, they're trying to make it a numbers advantage. Keep your eye on Mole's TP though to see if he can try and add to the craziness that we're going to see in this top lane.
That would be my big question, is how can Mole get involved in that? Because Rise, not typically known for his early game strength, but we do know that Mole is a very proactive player, and I'm hoping that he can get himself, get down and dirty in these top lane shenanigans that we're expecting. We're heading onto the Rift, though, just to remind you, guys. There's quite a lot on the line for these two teams. RNG still undefeated. They are 3 and 0 in series, 6 and 1 in games. They're in 3rd place in the standings. But V5, they've also got 3 wins on the board. If they can win this one today, it'll push them up to 4 and 1, and they will snag 3rd place away from RNG.
That would be such a beautiful thing for V5, especially when we saw them struggling a little bit, but certainly bouncing back well. However, I want to see where Weiwei starts here. I'm actually imagine he'll start on his bottom side, full clear, and then path in towards his top. As Udyr, you can take all 3 camps on bot side, then just run straight top on that level 3 and try and run people down with this bear stance. However, on the opposite side for Wei, you can see he's also going to be starting on this bottom side. So we are going to get a lot of attention up towards this top lane. And that's where I think from literally on this 3rd wave crash that Xiaohu will be trying to go for, Audi could be in trouble.
I'm really curious if we get some kind of shenanigans from PP God as well, whether we see a super early roam up towards the top half of the map. We'll have to wait and see. I don't want to set false expectations. So we're expecting our junglers to be pathing towards the top side. We're expecting maybe some mid lane roams early on as well. But as you can see, our junglers have started on this bottom side of the map. They are beginning to clear in that expected route. Ooh, nice pulverized from Ming there. Denies the engage. Another trade heavily onto Y4 here. Ultimately still goes the way of V5.
Yeah, you can see, though, that RNG are already doing their RNG things, right? We're talking about playing heavily towards Xiao in the top lane. Ming coming in on this more aggressive engage support. Like, this is perfect for RNG. The only thing I will say with Cryan being swapped onto this Renekton, I love Cryan's Renekton for, like, setting up map plays and lane states. However, his Renekton in team fights isn't very good. It's just he's not got that, like, oh, I need to get into this flank position. How do I actually set this up? So expect still for RNG when we do get to team fights to rely heavily on Ming to be that big engage tool for them. However, I like when we start to move in towards this potential dive in the top lane. Cryan's been shoved in pretty hard in this mid lane. So when we look at the potential for Cryan to join in on that play top side, he's not really going to be there. So it means that we're probably just going to get Xiao who crashed the wave and walk away.
You see you can see Mole going for an early recall there. It does cancel it in the end and goes back to clearing away the waves. And Wei is going to have a fairly quick clear here as he finishes off about 3 minutes. Weiwei, a very similar time on this one as the last Krug is finished. Heading towards this top scuttle. Looks like Weiwei is going to meet him there. We could have the Weiwei versus Wei battle here in the river. Looks like Weiwei, he's backing off.
It's not going to be even, though. Cryan, he only has to manage his health bars, Renekton. Whereas Mole, you have to manage...
Oh, Audi's getting dived. Xiao who goes for the solo kill. He's tanked the tower for way too long. That is a questionable decision, but hey, I like the pizzazz.
Hey, you get the kill, you deny some of that CS and experience. It's a win for Xiaohu. And honestly, like, Xiaohu is going to be way more impactful in these team fights when it comes from a damage perspective than the likes of Audi is. So I actually like that play. I think it's really smart. And the big thing as well is that by shoving in aggressively, you guarantee that top lane scuttle for Wei. Wei's also moved in, got that deep ward there for Xiaohu to start playing even more aggressive around. So this is a pretty big win for RNG.
So what you're saying is Xiaohu purposely traded 1-4 on because dying is faster than recalling this early on in the game. I got it. I'm there with you, Dagda. Don't worry about it. Let's have a quick... Sorry, go on.
If you deny a few CS and experience as well, I mean, it's all good in my books. I'm happy with that.
Xiaohu takes those every single time. Audi does still have his flash, so slight summoner advantage up there as Crane gets a cheeky little trade onto Mole there. I want to recap on the junglers, though, because Weiwei, he's gone and cleared his bottom quadrant. Now he's recalling to grab himself those, not ninja tabbies, plated steel caps, in fact. I'm trying to battle with years of muscle memory there. Wei still on the map. He's already recalled once, and now he's moving up towards top side again.
So what I imagine we're going to see is from Weiwei, he's going to go basically for the armor. He's going to go towards Turbo Chem Tank. Then we get the Dead Man's Plate. And he's a speedy out boy, although...
Oh, hang on. Mole's flashing in. They're going straight on towards Wei, who's flashed out of the fray, and he's damn quick. So we'll be able to escape from this one as Crane tries to chase this down. In the meantime, Xiaohu, Audi's found himself some revenge on this. Now, I don't know how it happened, but he grabs himself the solo kill.
I think it looks like you just got clipped by that boomerang, and with no flash out, who just gets chased down. So a brilliant job from Audi, who honestly we don't usually see these solo kills from. He's usually the more quieter, weak side top laner, but Audi's come to play today, and I love this.
And I have to say, we haven't seen any jungle influence on that top lane just yet. Bear in mind, Herald will come up in a couple of minutes. So keep your eyes peeled, because as we said before, that's exactly how V5 plays.
Yeah, they definitely do. We're just looking at this top lane play. It looks like Audi just about able to clip Xiaohu with that Mega Gnar. So beautiful kill from Audi. I want to go back to your jungle point though, because I'm actually looking at Dragon first. Udyrs tend to go for this quick Dragon off their first reset. Now, you've just cleared top side. You're going to be pushing down on this hard on this bottom side as well. And I want to see if Weiwei is going to try and collect this early Dragon. Now, you do need Mole to get a little bit more pressure mid if you want to go for that, but certainly this could be on the cards for V5 and start stacking those early and try and make that a win condition.
Well, Wei is going to be able to at very least trade a Scuttle Crab for it, as Xiaohu and Audi are just going at it. This is starting to feel personal, Doctor. This is starting to feel like a little bit of a grudge match. Wei wants to dive this top side. They're crashing a reasonably big wave in, but Audi is on the cusp of Mega Gnar here.
Look at Cryin though. Cryin already getting out of range of Mole. He's starting to move up top side, and Audi, the second he sees that, is like, no, I've seen this before. I know what's happening. He will back off. But look at the amount of CS and experience that's being lost. And again, Xiaohu getting these big early leads on this top side. However, Weiwei doing a good job of trading this will steal away the entire bot side jungle of Wei and start to get himself a lead again though. Want to see if he'll take these early dragons, because when you're looking at this 1-3-1 situation from V5, or probably more likely a 1-4 with Mole being the split pusher, collecting these early Drakes just means that you can give across like the second Drake, the third Drake, and delay those timers where you have to actually fight for these objectives and buy a bit more time for this split push to get up and rolling. But it looks like he's not convinced he'll be able to take it, and is just going to back away.
Yeah, it feels like he opted into trying to take away some of the jungle instead of going for that Drake. And now we're 20 seconds away from that Herald getting onto the map here. We've set up the fact that that is generally the strategy for V5. And just remember that V5, yes, they win very fast by snowballing through the Herald. But when they're not able to get the Herald and when they're not able to get that early lead, this is a team that loses games exceptionally quickly. So anticipate that the next few minutes should start to speed up when it comes to the amount of action that we're seeing in the game.
Yeah, and you can already see those moves happening. Right, PP got a Ming, a boat roamed up from bot side. I'm surprised to see Week4 sticking in this bottom lane. Usually they will have just shoved in and then rotate Week4 up with them as well on V5 side, but he's actually sticking around. Now, potentially going to start moving? Yeah, it looks like he is to try and get this numbers advantage. However, look at where Mole is. Like, Mole is trying to clear out this blue buff solo, so this gives RNG a little bit of time and space here to just start this up. Might be able to burst it down before V5 can react.
You can see Y4 moving up, though. This is what V5 do every single time. They force a brawl for the Herald. It's down to half already as the mid wave is just going to be shoved out. Y4's moving in. Doesn't look like RNG will finish this off before a fight kicks off. The whole squad is here for V5. You can see Gala is about to arrive as well. We've got a team fight on our hands. Curtain Call goes through. They're trying to get shots onto Weiwei. Not landing any just yet, and the Herald is smited away. RNG get the Herald. Meganar isn't going to be found though. 1-for-1 start the fight. Realm Warp out of this one. V5 are retreating, but they're snoozing while they warp. They've managed to get away with it with a 1-for-1 trade, but RNG get the Herald.
That is a massive win for RNG. So not only do they get the team fight, not only do they get the Herald, but denying that from V5, both because of how V5 play and also just with them trying to operate into this split push, you need to break open the map early as V5. You want to make sure you can get that mid lane turret down, unlock Mole, start to get some deep vision, start to crack open these side lane turrets, but you're not able to do that if you don't have this Rift Herald. So big win for RNG there.
Yeah, and the differences in these fights are minuscule, because if Audi just survives a second or two longer, turns into Meganar, suddenly that's a dramatic team fight win for V5. But when you look at some of the carries on the side of V5, things like this Rise in the early game, he doesn't actually want to be going for these huge fights. He wants to be scaling up. As I wasn't sure if Ming was about to just start a fight on this bottom side then, but opting out of it for now.
Yeah, but you can still see the issues that Gnar is having in the current meta, right? Even though he's our most played top laner, there's still problems with, like, trying to manage your Gnar bar, trying to actually get into these fights. Like, Alistair's got the headbutt to knock you back out. You've got, like, the self-peel and this Zaya. You crying as well as able to CC you the second you go in. It becomes very difficult for Audi to actually get these big Gnars that you really hope for when you see this pick. And that's why Gnar has turned into more kind of a lane-focused pick rather than a team fight pick. And why we'll oftentimes see, like, the Stride Breakers over Divine Sunder. And it looks like, again, in this matchup, we will end up getting the Stride Breaker here for Audi as well to just focus more on this side lane split push.
Well, we've had one big team fight so far, Dacta, and it was over that first Herald, which I'm pretty pleased about, because that is basically all we talked about coming into this matchup. We were hoping they would fight over the Heralds. They've been fighting over the Heralds. However, V5 is a team that almost always wins that fight. Now they've lost that one. What's the next step on the path for V5? What's the alternate strategy? Because we said that they get the Herald, they push through mid, then they win the game. What happens when they don't?
Yeah, well, the game plan for them here that you can already see, getting these early dragons, making sure that RNG's team fighting composition can't just force them to play around that. However, I'm going to hold on to my point as RNG playing towards Xiaohu. Who would have saw that coming?
Yeah, and I guess V5 are like, well, if we don't get the Herald, we're just going to go wherever the Herald goes and fight over it anyway, as they force RNG out of the tribe rush. Looks like RNG are just going to opt out of this one, not willing to go for the full-on skirmish. Maybe thinking that they don't want to do it while Mole has that TP available. Well, he's going to find a sleep onto PP God here as Ming is ready to follow up. The Slumber Slam is there. PP God is damn tanky, and now he goes straight in. Gnarl onto everybody. Huge fight for V5 started off, but actually their health bars are going down. Jin getting shots in, but doesn't do any damage as Wei flashes out of this one. Audi trying to chase things up. He's in mini Gnar as Wei gets the stun. Crying goes down. Wei trying to gallop away. He's there. The deer and the cow try to escape through the woods, but the bear is chasing them down. So is the weird yodel creature. I don't know what that one's called, but RNG will escape with that one. 5 for 3 all in all.
You can see both these teams have done their homework, right? RNG are fighting for Rift Heralds. V5 are reading that first tower participation for Xiaohu. 100%. They want to again give him all this extra gold, but V5 are in position to fight back.
Ooh.
Audi gonna take a bit of a back scratcher there, but won't go down. However, the big difference in that fight was Y4's position. Y4 had backed, and it actually started to teeter up towards this mid lane before moving down towards bot side, because he wasn't 100% sure if we were going to get this play from RNG. So great read from V5 to get some of that gold and control of this map back in their favor.
Beautifully done here by V5 to answer whatever RNG try and do on the map. And it again, every single play that we're seeing across this map is Wei versus Wei, trying to read each other, trying to match each other around the map.
Exactly. However, this is going to start to move away from this. We're going to start to see V5 again looking to set up the split push. You can see it now. Looks like they do pop the Rift Herald down here to just break open the last of this bottom lane structure. But look at the build that's coming in here from Mole. This is a very Mole unique build. He is going towards the Rift Maker. He likes to use this in the split push because it gives him so much dueling capability thanks to just how tanky you get with the Omni Vamp and everything else that's in, and the true damage as well that you get makes it very difficult for you to trade effectively as, like, say, Cryin or even Xiaohu in these situations. So I think we're going to end up seeing them start to continue racking up these dragons, or at least stopping RNG from starting up the third dragon, the fourth dragon, where you really need to fight as V5. But we're getting back to this team fight here, where you can see just Weik4 is in a beautiful position. Wandered up mid lane, was like, right, I know that there's probably going to be some funny business happening on this RNG squad. And on the minimap, he was just wandering back and forth, trying to go like, do I go bot? Where am I supposed to be right now? But he made the right call and ends up turning that play around.
Yeah, and Garlo was still chilling bot during all of that. But because Garlo is chilling bot, it means that the first tower goes to RNG. And I want to remind you guys of a statistic me and Dagda were throwing back and forth. RNG have a 100% win rate when they get the first tower. V5 get the first tower 91% of the time, but now they're looking for a team fight as well. Teleport comes in, and RNG looking good in this one as PP got forced to flash out. The curtain call is just going to be soaked up mostly by Ming here. Both teams back away for now. Xiaohu arriving from the bottom side. RNG in position to just start this Drake off, and now it's down to V5 to try and face check in. They're not going to be able to get in time, though. Drake goes down. Wei maybe just needs to leave. Audi's about to turn Mega, though. If he can find the ulti, that would be the way into the fight. He's turning into that Mega Gnar. Gala stepping on forwards. V5 opt out of the play.
They're still hovering here. Like, this is the problem that I have with V5, all right? Actually, hold on.
Oh, here we go. Solar Flare in. They're trying to get onto Wei, but he's got a Zhonya's. And now they're culling shredding through this squad. V5 getting so damn low. And the Renekton from Cryin just slicing through everybody. This is beautiful from RNG. And it feels like V5, they just don't have the damage in these fights.
This is the problem with V5. This is why I love to hate V5, because they'll go for these early Rift Herald plays. If they don't work out, they don't know what to do. Like, they're playing a split push composition. We just said, hey, you get that first dragon? Right. Move away from the rest of the dragons. Give them over towards RNG. You just wanted to buy time to get better map position. So instead, they tried to fight against the team fight composition of RNG. They lose 2 or maybe even 3 waves actually now in this top side, thanks to posturing around this dragon. And it's just, these are not the plays you want to make as V5. Play the map state. Try and open up control of this game, but instead, they're just walking straight into the hands of RNG.
And, you know, we talked about how V5, they usually get that first tower of the game. They usually get that first herald of the game. But now, when they don't get those, it feels like they don't quite know how to play this mid-game. RNG on the opposite side, though, they're incredibly intelligent. They play their compositions beautifully.
Yeah, and you can see here, Audi does try and go in on towards Wei, but actually misses the Gnar ult because Wei goes golden. But even then, like, I don't like Ryze in team fights, because all he does is, like, pump all of his damage into the front line, and it's really difficult for him to have access to the back line. He's much stronger in these side lanes, where he's able to shove waves really effectively, chip down towers. His 1v1 potential is really, really good, but in a team fight, just not there. So as V5, do not opt in towards these team fights. What you want to do is use Ryze to get your turrets down, use Audi to get the turrets down, and let RNG pick up 2-3 Drakes. And then at that stage, when you've got all this extra gold coming in from the towers and all the extra CS that you picked up, then you can look to fight.
And it does feel reminiscent, doesn't it, of the E-Star lineup when we look at this RNG squad, not just in terms of, obviously we've got Wei and Cryin from E-Star, that's why it feels reminiscent, but also in the way that this squad now plays, is grouping up and finding these fights together, finding intelligent skirmishes. That was what was so exciting about E-Star, was when they grouped up and went for these bot lane dives or top lane dives. It was all about the team play, and it feels very much the same story with this RNG squad.
And again, I mean, it's the kind of the bread and butter that we've got going for RNG now. I mean, get Xiaohu ahead, go towards these more teamfight oriented plays, and then when we step away from that, oh, hang on, Xiaohu.
Oh, Xiaohu messed up his dash over the wall, flash available, but Audi's going to chase it. The boomerang doesn't quite get the proc. Oh, it's a heartbreak for Audi. He misplayed it just a little bit.
However, you can see what the game plan is for Xiaohu. This is what I was about to say. When there's no objectives on the map, they'll stick Xiaohu back in this top lane. Look at the deep vision control that's there for RNG. They're all about getting this control in towards the enemy jungle and allowing Xiaohu to go for this split push. So we'll kind of see the collect and group concept coming in from RNG, and then they can look to go for like the dragon in a minute with all these first mythics that are coming through. They are so much stronger than V5.
V5 a little out of sorts now. 6,000 gold lead. We're at 19 minutes. There's a 6,000 gold lead. That is really difficult. As you rightly say, the Herald in the hand of Wei on top of everything else is going to make this very difficult for V5. We've said how they struggle a little bit in the mid game when they can't snowball. We've said how they're incredibly fast at winning. They're incredibly fast at losing as well. We talked about how they're not playing towards their win conditions so far this game. I'm not going to lie, Dagda, I wouldn't be too surprised if that just continues now. If we just see them try and force these 5v5s, even though it's not really what their comp wants.
Yeah, it's really difficult as V5 now because there goes second Rift Herald as well, going in favor of RNG, pop down mid. You can't really get control of the map because they've just got too much pressure as RNG. And they can't dive your turrets. They have an Alistar. Like, Alistar's great at diving turrets.
Look how quickly RNG are snowballing this game. They just got the tier 2 in the mid lane. They just get the tier 2 in the bottom lane at the same time. An extra charge onto the inhib tower mid. Now they can move over towards the Drake. In the meantime, Mole is up in the top lane, but you're on Rise. There's no real pressure onto this tier 2. There's no real threat. But so RNG are like, yeah, we'll take that trade any day.
I think this is the best way for V5 to play, though. They know that, look, we're going to lose these outer turrets. Let's just give them now and try and see if we can get some gold on towards Mole. Because as we said, Mole is going to be the big split pusher. And if you can get these tier 2s down and buy a bit of space for yourself, you're in a much better spot as V5. But the problem is it's too little too late at this stage. They needed to give up that last dragon so they could make that play work. Then they could have already that top lane turret down. Already Mole is pretty much probably taking that tier 2 in the top side, and now you're putting pressure onto inhibitor turrets. However, now it's a tier 2 that RNG don't really care about. They've got Cryon pumping out these waves as well. Like, you're in a fine position now as RNG to push all this back out and then start to threaten Baron.
Yep, start to threaten Baron. You can also threaten the top tier 2. I mean, if there's a bit of a misposition on the Baron, like if V5 get in position to try and, you know, contest the Baron and RNG can get the inside track on that mid lane, Baron, that Herald already got a charge. They could just run it straight up mid and just take it in him if V5 mispositioned. So it's now become quite a dicey situation for V5, and they need to look for something magical. This is V5, though. If there's anything we know about V5, this team is based around magic. This team is based around the faith in PP God. PP God's been an exceptional support so far this split, so maybe there's some kind of miracle pick that can happen.
Yeah, I think that's maybe their best bet here is you can have, like, if Ryze is split pushy, maybe you can go for some sort of play with Wei trying to, Audi, just trying to see if they can use the double TP that they have available to make these plays and pick someone off. But it becomes very, very difficult with the threat that RNG have on this Baron. And don't forget, like, their Baron take is insanely quick. Between the double 80 carry, the burn on Wei, the damage that Cryon can churn out. Like, if you leave this for 10 seconds, it's as good as gone.
Yeah, and when we've kind of ignored Gala all game as well, because he's been on this side, he's been farming off on the other side of the map, but he's on 2 items now. When he gets towards 3 as well, he's going to be a monster in these skirmishes. As you rightly said, they can just threaten this Baron. Zaya's incredibly good at that. You've got the dots coming out from Wei. Is Wei? Props the Turbo Chem tank, but doesn't find a way in.
Yeah, where's the threat here, though? What are V5 doing, really? All they're giving is Cryon an opportunity to push out spot wave. I mean, they get the engage here,
There's
but
the threat.
PP God
Going on to Mig, apparently. PP God has gone way too deep. Solar Flare completely with And now there's a TP from Audi, who's jumped onto the robot. That was actually clean. That was real nice from Audi and Mole. It doesn't matter. They still lose the fight, but hey, it was nice.
Yeah, I mean, cool. They got out of there, but...
Hang on, here we go. Featherstorm aggressively. Swirl Seed hits onto Mole. The sleep's already been used, though, so no threat there. Wei is trying to chase Mole down. Another Swirl Seed. It goes wide. Mole gets out.
Yeah, V5 need to figure out what they do when they don't get Rift Heralds. Like, this just is... It just seems like they don't know, they don't have a game plan. And, like, this all stems back to, like, kind of two big fights. There was obviously the first Rift Herald fight where Week4 didn't get out of that bottom lane fast enough, which meant that they got the full 5v5 as RNG and won, where... Hang on.
Oh, Xiaohu's in trouble. Flashes away. Mole can't get in range.
But this is what I mean. It's like... They get to these situations where you've lost that first fight. The second fight where they try and go for the second dragon ends up going awry as well because they're trying to fight 5v5. And now you've just got this massive gold lead for RNG and they're trying to make desperation plays like this. TP and Mole in, flashing onto Xiaohu, trying to make any sort of pick happen. But now you're just... no TPs available on V5 side and your flash is now gone on Mole.
That's a 2-for-1 summoner trade that they made. Both flashes, and Xiaohu still has his TP, as you just said. Now, RNG can take anything they want. They're even taking these red buffs. PP God going to be knocked up. He doesn't even get to use his Eclipse. Doesn't even get to be the tank. He just gets shredded. And when your tank is that squishy, it's not a good sign, Dagda. RNG get to just move over towards the Baron now.
Yeah, they'll be able to absolutely shred this and still be able to fight towards this dragon that's about to spawn in 30 seconds as well. But this is you're just too far gone at this stage. V5 have dug themselves a hole and now they're desperately trying to get out.
All right, V5 last ditch attempt here. Audi's turning into Mega Narf. Maybe there's an opportunity. Doesn't even go into the pit though. They're just gonna fight after the Baron has gone down. I feel like this is not the play. V5 Wei is on the backside and he's swinging his shillelagh around. The double AD carries come up big. 13-6, and this is clean from RNG.
And they're getting everything. They get the Baron, they get the fight. Xiaohu wants to get bot lane inhibitor turret while Wei is going towards Dragon. This is what is beautiful about RNG. You give them an inch, they will take a mile, probably 10. This is what I love about this team. Understanding their composition, how to force you into unfavorable situations, and just how much they can eke out of every little drop. It is such a joy to see.
Yeah, the speed at which they snowball these games out of control is honestly so impressive to watch. And, you know, I was one of the naysayers for RNG. I was one of the people that said, you know, this isn't going to work out. Put in a mid laner to the top lane. It's not going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, it's no longer just like, you know, oh, I'm going to pick Orianna top and cheese. It's like, this is so much more than just a random couple of strats coming out from RNG.
Exactly. And look, we're going to get a replay here, but it's a 4 versus 5 fight with the gold lead that RNG have. This was never going to go well for V5. And a lot of this, as we said, stems back to RNG punishing mistakes that V5 made. And if V5 aren't able to play towards their own compositional strengths and are still heavily reliant on this Rift Herald play, that's the problem that stopped them in playoffs in summer. That's the problem that stopped them getting Worlds, is that teams figured out, hey, these are just a one-track team. They're going to go for this 5-man play at Rift Herald. We're going to be able to fight them at it. As long as we're prepared for this play, V5 don't know what to do. And again, we're seeing this here where not playing through the 1-4 that we talked about, trying to fight RNG who had a lead and have a better composition for it. It's upsetting to see V5 when I know how many fans have such high hopes for this team.
I feel like a huge portion of this loss is down to things like the Rise pick as well, that realistically you don't want to be fighting in the... You don't want to be in these skirmishes when that's the bread and butter for V5. That they want to be fighting for that first Herald. Here we go, though. Onto the tower. RNG want to end this one. They want to put the final nail in the coffin. Apparently, it's Wei's coffin as he's the first one to go down. The Realm Warp comes on through, but it's not going to happen. Third in hit falls. This is going to be game here as RNG push in one last time. Last ditch attempt here for V5. 3 versus 5. And I think that might be 2 in just a moment as Mole's gone golden, but he's gone down as well. The sleep comes through onto Audi, the root, as well as Gala. Finally gets a bit of action for himself. He's shredded them on the fountain, and they're going to shred this Nexus down. A 27-minute clean, comfortable, dominating win from RNG.
And this is exactly what I love to see whenever I watch RNG on this split, is they're playing through Xiao, who you can see getting these very early plays up towards top side. They're starting to get the ball rolling at these early Rift Heralds, taking these very strong fights against V5. And from that point again, it's solidifying this lead for Xiaohu through investing in wards, making sure that he's all good, having Cryin play this more split.
4,000 HP right now. Lillian is in the vicinity, but can he actually close the distance? It doesn't look like it, and Meteor is going to sneak away this Baron. Mark, however, going very, very low. He's going to fall down. Zika on the wrong side of the map. They do find Lillian, but how many kills are they going to get traded away for the Baron? Fovo finds another one. It's already 2 down on the side of BLG. It's going to be a couple more. Zika's not going to be able to escape from this one. But if it's only 2 kills, I would still say pretty favorable. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. Zika somehow finds a miracle escape, forces the flash out of iBoy, and the iBoy is the one that falls down, baited by the perfect timing. Can't Fovo equalize this? He finds the damage, but unable to get the final kill. He uses the heal, goes in, has a Gale Force, and he dies too.
Straight up daylight robbery, to be honest, to get that trade. But Kramer, oh, Farmer Kramer, you don't get to just tend your fields at this point in the game. Knock back on the chance as well. Jackie Love gets his 19th double of the game, but he wants a little bit more as he grabs the triple Unipoint. Desperate to survive this one. Jumps in, but he's just going to get stunned up and annihilated by Knight. I don't think he can close the gap. In they go with the Gale Force to take them down. Forge on 1 HP, but he's crit to fall. And a reheal. He doesn't have that unbreakable will. He already used it, and he's taken down for the triple.
Your mind and it's understood. If you close your eyes, you will see the light. Open up your heart in front of the sun. Open up your arms, is it for the fun? If you follow me, I will follow you. Reflecting in the water. I thought we were young, and nothing really matters. Openings night, everything is cool. Open up your mind and it's understood. If you close your eyes, you will see the light. Open up your heart in front of the sun. Open up your arms, is it for the fun? If you follow me, I will follow you. When I saw your lips reflecting in the water.
Welcome back, everybody, to the LPL. And we are 1 game in to our day so far. It's V5 against RNG. And RNG started things off pretty beautifully with a clean win against V5. I'm Munchables. I'm joined by Dagda. We are, what did I say we are? Daggables. The name is a work in progress, okay?
I've seen several on that tweet. I've seen the boys, I've seen Daggables, I've seen, what was the other one? The Munchatron.
There's a lot of invasions. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a dicey history back there. Let's not talk about invasions anymore. Let's move on from that topic. In fact, let's talk first about what's going on here today and who gets the MVP for game number 1. Because way in the jungle on this Lilia, played an absolute blinder, completely read what V5 wanted to do in the early game, managed to get that first herald, managed to snowball the rest of his squad out of control.
Yeah, and I love watching Wei in these team fights as well. Just his presence and also his ability to get these big sleeps off consistently is what was turning a lot of these fights around, or at least forcing V5 onto the back foot. And as he talked about, Munch, just the presence in the early game, being able to play towards Xiaohu, getting this deep vision, allowing the strong laners, the strong solo laners in V5 to play their game.
Yeah, it's how he can be the supportive jungler if he needs to be, but also when he needs to carry, this guy is more than capable of it. We got to see him playing the Lilia during these fights. Some of his sleeps were so crucial to the skirmishes.
They really were. And you could see just in this fight here, I think I'm pretty sure it's this fight where he just gets this big 3-man sleep and you're just like, all right, cool. Well, it's all over, said and done for V5. You got to back off. And almost always he was the one that was kind of leading the charge and setting up the plays for V5. And it's why I've got Wei rated as the 4th best jungler in the LPL right now. I love this guy. I think he's been absolutely incredible. And seeing him bounce from E-Star into RNG, where he's able to play both this super aggressive style, where he's able to play the more farm heavy style, like play off of the strong solo lanes that we're seeing on RNG. Like, he's just come into his own. He's a super incredible, or intelligent jungler, and I'm excited to see more of him as what looks like a strong RNG will continue forward.
Yeah, and we kind of set this jungle matchup up as having Wei being more gank focused and Wei being more farm focused. In this game, it didn't really feel like there was a distinct stylistic difference, maybe due to the picks that came on through, but it felt like Wei was better at ganking and better at farming, better at being in the right place on the map. So I feel like Wei coming into this game now has his work cut out. Maybe the Udyr pick wasn't quite the right way to go. I want to see, I mean, we've seen him on Graves an absolute ton, and he's still managing to get a positive win rate. Obviously, Graves, we've had a bit of a discussion about this already, how somewhat of a bait pick in the LPL. It's sitting at like 34% win rate, I think, something along those lines. But it's still picked a lot. Wei is one of the guys that has had success on this Graves when he locks it in. So maybe leaning towards something like that that's a little bit more within his wheelhouse.
I also think as well, a lot of the early game pressure that we see from Wei often revolves around him being paired up with PP God. So if Wei isn't able to play down towards the bot side, like we saw in the last game, it feels like he's not able to sync up with PP God as well, and things start to look a little bit fishy. So I'm hoping that maybe in this game, they end up just going, right, we're going to forfeit topside. Audi did a wonderful job, but clearly this is not going to work where we just try and match the pressure on topside from RNG. Let's go back to playing our game. Let's play down towards this bottom side, unlock PP God, work as this jungle support duo, invade, get these early leads, so then when we get towards Rift Herald, we're actually moving as this 5-man unit, whereas you've still got Gala who's stuck in the bottom lane collecting this big wave. Like, that's actually been how V5 play towards the Rift Herald, and it's not what we're seeing so far in this series.
Yeah, they weren't really able... I mean, they kind of tried to do that, but RNG did a good job of, first off, stalling them before a fight could happen, but also, RNG had already started the Herald. V5 didn't actually pull the trigger on the fight. They were late on pushing out the mid wave, and then it was like kind of and ahhing around it. RNG finishes off the Herald, and then we get the team fight anyway once Gala has roamed up, so it's just a 5v5, and compositionally RNG have the advantage. It's like, why are we fighting? What's the game plan at this point? Anyway, we can go into more of that once we get into game. Let's look at the draft here as the bans coming through. Renekton taken off the board, and the Orianna. A lot of respect to the solo laners on RNG here, as the Aphelios as well is the last ban there. Now RNG banning Mol Zoe, banning this Pantheon from Wei, and then finally banning that Kai'Sa first pick.
And they are going to go towards the jungle first pick here. This has been the strongest pick for Wei in this split, and it does open up a lot of opportunity for Mol to go towards something like the Lucian and secure a strong lane for themselves there. However, there is the opportunity here on the opposite side for Wei to go towards something like the Nidalee and these kind of things. There's still a lot open for him, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that locked in on this next rotation. Or opposite, just secure a strong bot side for themselves. Gala's looked really, really good in being this late game carry for RNG, just sitting bot, doing his thing, and then being a big impact in the late game fights.
Yeah, we get Gala on the Xayah once again. This is, I mean, he played it last game. This is now his most played early carry of the split with 3 games played. And you expect that this is going to continue to be standard for him. Ming has looked fantastic on the Alistair, again, can roam really heavily, can be a part of these early game skirmish.
So I want to see here V5 actually go towards the Syndra pick on this next rotation, because then you end up putting RNG in this really difficult situation where do we try and take a pick into the mid lane that can deal well against the likes of the Syndra, or do we end up picking up our jungler for Wei and then we end up getting a favorable matchup mid anyway? Okay,
that's one
there
way
we
to
go.
do it. We'll just blind pick the Yone instead. Mole is just slamming the gauntlet down and saying, bring it on. What do you got, Cryan? What are you bringing to this mid lane?
And I've wanted to see this pick come in for so long, especially with the amount of AP junglers we have. Haven't quite been able to see it brought out. I know Doomby played, I think, in Demacia Championship was kind of the last time I really got a good look at it. But you can see now, you're in a difficult spot as RNG. We just talked about it. Take a mid laner, cool. Now you have to take a jungler or a favorable matchup for that mid lane. RNG opt in towards the jungle, which means as V5, you can ban away some of these Yone counters, or at least matchups that do well into Yone, and have an absolute field day for Mole in this mid lane.
I am incredibly excited for what Mole can bring out. We already talked about Mole being a playmaker in the mid lane, being the kind of guy that wants to win 1v1. Yone is definitely a pick that fits into that playstyle. Over to the bans though, as Galio is removed by RNG, V5 with their first ban gonna go for the Akali, so definitely gonna focus on towards these mid lane matchups, as you said.
Yeah, and I imagine we're going to just continue to see that. Yone does incredibly well just at the moment in the mid lane because he can play so aggressive. He's able to trade super well. The only thing I will say is that you need to make sure you've got vision control for this Yone, because if you're not able to trade aggressively without knowing where the jungler is, you're not able to get the full amount out of this Yone. So I want to see Wei starting to move in towards the opponent's side, working with PP God to make sure they can track where Wei is going to be. Otherwise, you run the risk of Wei just tearing through this mid lane and setting up some kills in the mid lane.
It's going to be a Mal fight, man. Coming out from V5 to round out the bad phase here, so they're just looking at Xiaohu's champion pool. They're like, we're not that afraid of your Camille. We're not afraid of your Nara, I guess. We're just going to ban this AP Malphite that we saw you bring out the one time. So, I don't know about that one specifically. But hey, you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and I kind of like the idea. I know it's kind of strange to... Okay, well, I was going to say because...
All right, whatever.
Okay, so what you want to do as V5 is the thought process is get rid of AP top laners. Gragas is already gone, so then you can't go for some sort of AD matchup in the mid lane like a Jace or an Aurelia that can do reasonably okay against the Yone. However, they go towards the Rumble. So this is Cryan going, you know what? You do your thing, Yone. I'm not going to interact with you. I'm going to push the lane and I'm going to go elsewhere. So expect these early plays to be coming from Cryan on these roams, more likely towards this top side, which is why we're leaving the counter pick here for Xiaohu on RNG side on top lane. On V5, I think they'll go towards maybe the Gnar has kind of been the standout one when we look towards the more blind pickable top lanes, but they've also got the opportunity to go for, well, maybe the Camille here, but I don't know if I fully like this. I prefer something that could set up Yone in these team fights rather than going towards this 1-3-1, because when we talk about already, you know, V5 struggling to get these Rift Heralds, and if they don't, well, what do they really do? 1-3-1 doesn't give you a huge amount to work with here in these team fights.
Camille can slot into the team fight at least somewhat, so maybe they can make it, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of AD on the side of V5, and Gnar will be the final lock-in here. It's going to be going up to Xiaohu, so Cryan bringing the Rumble to the mid lane up against Yone from Mole. This is going to be definitely an exciting mid lane. I will say, for the side of E5, what did we prescribe for them last time? It was drafting a composition that can fight better in the early game over these Heralds. These guys love to skirmish. This is definitely a squad that wants to be fighting.
Yeah, this is a squad that can do well in a skirmish, but in a team fight, if we end up in a 5v5, I'm not so sure. But for V5, I want to see them making these early plays. And actually, a lot of this, for me, stems from PP God unlocking himself from that bottom lane, playing towards Mole, trying to see if he can play towards top side. Because this is all about the solo lanes for V5. And if they don't get ahead, then you're going to just get overrun by RNG again.
Time to find out which team is going to be able to get the advantage in the early game. I want to reiterate that the early game is everything. Whichever team is ahead at 15 minutes pretty much is going to win the game. They both have 100% win percent when they're ahead at 15 minutes. And bear in mind that last game didn't touch the stats in that regard for V5 because they weren't ahead at 15 minutes. So it doesn't impact that statistic. Definitely about the snowball here and about that first Rift Herald. Looking towards the jungle matchup once again, because Wei was our MVP in game number 1. How are we thinking this early game is going to begin, especially between a Hecarim and a Lilia? We've got a little bit of, what is it, Regicide is it called? I can't remember what the family on family is called.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't.
Yeah, either way.
Regicide is royalty, but anyway.
Yeah. Wei, I think, is going to have his work cut out for him. It's a little bit more difficult for him to have that big impact on the Hecarim, but we'll have to see as we start to get through, because you don't really have like the definitive CC for Wei to kind of play around, like the likes of a Renekton, or even the mid lane, something that can lock someone down like a Syndra. So as Wei, you've got to invest that Ghost to try and wrap around behind someone to set that play up. However, as long as V5 are able to kind of play it a little bit safe and not overextend their lane, they should be able to weather the storm and not give Wei the opportunity to have an impact in these early stages. I actually expect Wei to have way more impact. When you're on this Lilia and you got the Camille in the top lane, you can path from bot in towards this top side level 3. You can even play towards Mole in this mid lane as well, because Mole, when he has it level 3, he can dash forward aggressively, set up that CC for you as well. So I'm expecting Wei to be playing pretty heavily around these solo lanes off of just his first clear.
Okay, well, I've been doing a little bit of research, Dagda. And if Wei kills Wei, it's going to be patricide, because that's killing your father. Generally speaking, it is called familicide, just the idea of killing family members. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Let's take a look at some of these runes, because we are going to see this Comet on Cryan from the Rumble. This is kind of your standard laning rune on Rumble when you want to get some extra poking, you want to be able to win these trades early, and most importantly, when you want to be spamming that Flame Spitter to get out of lane.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's trying to do here. You can see already getting the shove. I'm looking at Wei, though. He's pathing from his weak side down towards his stronger bot side. So certainly he's already realized, look, I'm not going to be able to do very much in this top lane against this double AD composition. So I'm going to move down towards my bottom side where I'm a little bit safer. And hopefully Gal and Ming can get that push at level 3 to get the scuttle and just allow this Hecarim to farm up until that mid-game spike that RNG have.
Week4 going to be able to shove in this bottom side. This is one of the advantages of the Misfortune as well, is in the early laning phase, like Xayah versus Misfortune, it is all the way in favor of the Misfortune. The love tap passive does so much work to be able to give you strength in lane. And also, importantly, going for that press the attack, so that early fights will very much favor the Misfortune, where you can obviously go for the Comet more for the laning phase, but we know this ain't really about the laning phase, as Mole taking some questionable trades here against Cryan, honestly.
Yeah, and this is why the Rumble does so well here. I mean, you're able to trade super effectively against them. It's really hard to shove a Rumble out of lane, which is why we've seen him picked up in the mid lane. That Scrap Shield does a lot to avoid that damage. And again, it works just as well against these AD mid laners. And if you're standing there as Mole whacking away on them, well, you're just in range of those overheat auto attacks as well.
Yeah, Cryan's having a whale of a time against this melee mid laner from Mole. And it's worth remembering that Mole is on something that scales exceptionally well. Yone obviously is essentially a melee crit 80 carry. I think with some aggressive positioning, they want the 2v2. They've already got the level 3. PP God flashes away from the root, but Week4 was caught by the tip of it. Hook onto Ming. Doesn't take a tower shot, though. He'll walk away from this one. That was a little dicey for V5. Got a flash and a heal out from that one. Xiaohu now trading on the top side is Audi, winning that one out. But Wei, it was all a bait after all. Xiaohu now going to be forced to flash, but it doesn't matter. First blood for Wei.
Oh, that's so sad. But bot lane might be answered here for RNG as Wei and Cryan to move down. I've seen this move before.
Cryan wants to roam. He's coming for this bot lane. They're still level 2. And bear in mind, PP God doesn't have the flash available. I think he's going to be okay. Gets the hook onto Wei. Can't pull him with the tower range, though. And it looks like the roam was for naught in that mid lane.
But look, I mean, this is a win for V5. They just talked about how strong their solo laners are and getting these ahead. And I was about to praise Xiaohu. He'd actually done a really good job of managing the wave, stopping it from crashing as much as it could have. But then he overextends, trying to take this aggressive trade, trying to see if he could get out his health bar too low so he couldn't be the one to start off the dive. But unfortunately for him, that means that he ends up dying anyway. So nice job here from Weiwei and Audi to get the early game lead.
Really aggressive from PP God and Y4 as well to kick Wei out of the jungle. Only the small Crot goes down, and Wei has to just settle for some Razor Beaks instead. I think Wei has been spotted by that ward, so Xiaohu shouldn't die to this flash from Ming, but it's answered by a flash from Y4, so all things considered, flash for flash. Now Xiaohu getting dived. There's a TP as well. Xiaohu hops away, but he's going to be chased by the deer, and Audi jumping under the tower. Mole will be able to bounce back to his shadow. That's going to be a nice, easy kill for V5.
So well played. And look, you can see why they're like, we know you're coming for a spot lane. We know you're going for the cross map. And they managed to back away. Trying to see if they can steal away the crab here. But you are losing out pretty heavily as Y4 in the spot lane. But honestly, you don't really mind. Going into this later game, you're going to have a very strong Camille in the side lane off of just the massive advantage and the favorable matchup she has against Gnar. Plus Mole having picked up that kill as well now helps re-stabilize things in this mid lane. So as MF, you're just this clear bot. Like all you're doing is clearing waves. Just let the side waves do their work. Or side lanes even, sorry, do their work.
You see Audi trying really hard to aggressively trade in the top side, but look at the CS difference between the top laners right now. It's mirrored on the opposite side of the map, and it shows so clearly how the two teams are playing so far. 20 CS in favor of Audi, 20 CS in favor of Gala. You can see which side of the map is the strong side, but that favors V5. When we talked about the two teams, generally they want to play around this top side. But Wei now has an opportunity maybe to look towards this dragon.
Well, look, this is a game where we definitely need to see RNG playing down towards this bottom side. Because when you look at how you want to force these fights from V5 so they can't just opt in towards split push, it's getting these early dragons. It's starting to ramp up a lot of pressure through these team fight scenarios. And that's why I want to see Wei go towards this dragon, but got to engage bot side.
Yeah, Hex flash onto him, but PP God has the lantern, so all is going to be fine on that one. And good trade here coming out from Audi, using that shield to protect himself from the initial damage from Xiaohu, who's still level 5, by the way. Doesn't have that Mega Gnar available, so can't really force the fight on that one. Has just hit 6 off of this minion wave, but obviously Audi well and truly out of dodge by that point. Trade's continuing in this mid lane, but I will say we're starting to see a little bit of a reason here on the scoreboard as to why RNG usually focus their strategy up towards the top side of the map here. It's to cover the laning weaknesses of Xiaohu as a top laner.
Well, look, this is just an unfavorable matchup. Like, Xiaohu definitely had his weaknesses, but they are steadily starting to shore up. The issue, though, for V5 more so is that you've hit the level 6 for Xiaohu, right? You don't have it on your bottom lane, whereas Gala and Ming should pit it off of probably this wave, if not the next one. So when we're looking at that Rift Herald play, it's fully in favor of RNG just with the level advantages and having access to more of these ultimates.
Damage from Gala underneath the tower onto Y4. He's really struggling here, just trying to clear the minions. I think this Hex Flash is going to go through. I think they're going to dive the bottom lane. Ming gets underneath the tower, but he's been found out. Wei will easily clear this kill up. That's a 1-for-1, all things considered, but Y4 still not level 6. Audi now flashing out in the top side. Hextech ultimatum to dodge the fear, but can he actually survive? Wei's just going to jump underneath the tower, and he can gallop out the other side.
And that's gorgeous from RNG. They were trying to set up for this Rift Herald on the top side, so now they're able to get that kill the second that they see Wei is bot, make the play, and now they can go back to base. They just picked up a bunch of gold, as we talked about, ultimates galore on RNG, and they can look to move towards this Rift Herald as well.
Really, really great stuff coming out from RNG. The dive on the bottom side doesn't quite work out, but they're able to make a play on the top side to make up for it. Wei is definitely ahead in this game with his 2-0-1 scoreline. Question is, what can he do to get the rest of his team back into this game?
I mean, there is actually an opportunity here to try and sneak away the Rift Herald. You've got PP God who's up mid. You can see that Gala's returned bot and Wei is on bot lane with Xiaohu in base with no TP. So he actually spots this correctly and is going to try and steal away this Rift Herald. And this is just an unfortunate reset timing from RNG, not actually able to go directly towards that. It looks like instead they're going to turn it over towards the Dragon and start to rack those up instead. I would have liked to see RNG contest for that Rift Herald. Just again, if you're playing split push, you want to get these towers down nice and early. V5 love these Rift Herald plays as well. So it felt like that was the best place for RNG to actually use the advantages that they picked up across them.
And since we do have RNG on the bottom side of the map, right now face sealed in the mid lane, knock up onto Cryan, forces him away. PP God almost getting the hook there. That's both summoners down for Cryan. We can see this Herald come down top as Wei already on the minimap, already there next to that tower. Yeah. Should be first tower of the game here for V5.
V5 are playing this early game exceptionally. Like, they have a very clear game plan of we're getting out ahead. So they get the kills for him. They're also getting all these turret plates for him as well. This Camille is so far accelerated. And because Xiaohu is so far behind, whether he ends up against Mole, whether he ends up getting Audi in a side lane, he's going to struggle. So right now, V5 have got a very clear game plan about how they can play this mid-game.
RNG trying to answer on the bottom side of the map. They're looking for the second tower of the game. They were looking to at least match the amount of plates, but Gala's going to take a hit their way, forced away from the tower. The hook comes through from PP God, going to lock him in place. The slow still comes through. The Blade Caller stops the follow-up engage. Tower finally goes down. That means Wei can start to go ham. Onslaught through everybody. The fears galore. Week4 falls, and it's a double kill for the pony.
Oh no, all V5 had to do was trade. You just trade the turret, you're getting a second one topside, but they end up giving over kills. And again, mistakes from V5 coming back to bite them. Now you've got 3 kills on towards Wei. This Hecarim is huge. And you're probably going to get this tier 2 well, not quite actually. Looks like they're going to back away, but still, RNG coming out massively off that play.
And the 3 members there from the side of E5 quaking in their boots as Wei gets the 3-man fear that turned everything on its head. And just look at Wei. He's like hitting the tower this entire fight.
Yeah, and you can see how long he waits. He's like, get the tower down. Gala's able to self-peel with the ultimate. We don't need to worry. But the second that goes down, Wei just turns. The amount of damage, the CC setup, it's perfect. And with how far behind the V5 bot lane is, you cannot go for that play. Under no circumstances are you able to fight that. With the level advantage, the item advantage on 2 out of the 3 members on RNG, you're never going to win. And now, that big lead that we just talked about for V5, how they had a very definitive game plan in the mid-game, that's been tossed out the window because we're all back to being even.
So what is next for V5 instead? The original game plan is now out of the window. Where do they go next with this composition, and how do they kind of find their footing in this game?
They need to try and get Audi out of this top lane. So if Audi can maybe shove in this wave really deep, force the back underneath the inhibitor turret where Xiaohu's collecting it, maybe they can look for some sort of 5-man play around mid lane, or maybe they can get a dive down onto this bottom side of the map. But it is very, very difficult because they don't really have anyone who's particularly tanky, right? It's not like you've got the Alistair that RNG have, especially with PP God being behind. He's not going to be able to tank it up. Wei can't. Mole maybe can with just the resets that come through, but it becomes a lot more difficult for you to just easily take these dive scenarios as V5.
Yeah, you see PP God and Wei just joining up there to clear some vision as Xiaohu, you mentioned how he's going to be stuck underneath his inhib, clearing waves. That is exactly where he is. He's somewhat freezing for a little bit there, but decides he's going to go into the Mega Gnar, shove this one out, grab the next wave, and try and group up with the team. We talked about how this was going to be a matchup between the junglers, and both games so far, it really, really has been. Look at the scoreboard right now. 2-0-1 on one side, 3-0-1 on the other with this Hecarim versus Lilia matchup. Last time around, it was Wei that managed to find the early advantage. This time with the Lilia, maybe Wei can find something in this mid-game. Once again, though, gold completely even. Whoever has the lead at 15 minutes statistically wins 100% of their games in this matchup. So in 1 minute and 20 seconds, Doctor, we're going to find out who wins.
We get our answer. Yeah, we get the answer. That's all we need.
Ooh.
I don't think it's not that
out there by Mo. Nicely done.
Yeah, and Mo's in trouble now. Wei is going to be like, he knows he's done for. This is
Ooh, fate sealed underneath the tower. Way's actually tanking up tower shots here. Has to back away now. Crot going underneath the tower himself. But he's going to be tanking. The minions didn't reset the damage. He gets out of range. And now Wei locked up and might just get taken down. Xiaohu's chasing for this one. But Audi's arrived on the scene. Ming flash over the wall. PP God trying to tank them up. Flashes himself and will keep himself alive as well. Xiaohu can't get into Meganar. Will be taken down. Audi with the first of the fight. The death sentence is perfect. It keeps Wei alive. And the double for Audi is just too sweet.
Oh god, that was a lot closer than it needed to be on that bottom side for V5, but they managed to get the kill. More gold injected in towards Audi as well with this turret going down. So right now, all the X for V5 are in the Camille basket. And if they can try and stop the bleed that's happening elsewhere on the map, then they can actually get this Camille up and rolling and use the long lanes that they're starting to create for themselves. And I mean, look, this is exactly what we wanted to see from V5, right? Finding some way to get Audi out of lane, make these plays underneath the towers that are still standing. However, you still need to be careful because RNG are answering back just as much. And now with Dragon up again, the second one of the game, they're going to start racking these up and can force V5 into these fights if V5 aren't able to snowball this advantage.
Well, Dagda, we've hit the 15-minute mark. V5 currently up in gold. Their statistic is now in jeopardy. V5 need this win to maintain that 100% win rate when ahead at 15. Let's take another look at this fight because Ming kind of just checked into this one.
Yeah, and look, they were trying to make a play down towards Audi. They could see Y4 was in mid. They thought maybe they could burst someone out before that happens. But this is the really cool build that are coming in from a lot of Lilias is going towards this Zhonya's first, so you can play these fights so aggressively and still have that safety there. And when the CC comes in with the death sentence, they're not able to finish off Wei. It's super, super nice to see. But I want to go back to your point, because there's one statistic I left, one silver bullet I left that I didn't bring up. RNG have a 75% win rate when behind at 15. So now, I know it's not the 100%, but still, we might end up seeing this here. But honestly, I think that this game is still super even. It's very much going to come down to if V5 can make plays happen and stop RNG from finding these team fights at Dragons.
We've got a big engage from Ming here. He's going to be locked up, though. The true damage really working away at his ulti. PP God survives for a second, but goes down now. Wei trying to clean up this fight. Fate Seal brings them all in. The Fear is going to buy a little bit of time, but Xiaohu's about to go down. Equalizer isn't doing enough, and now suddenly 3 versus 1 as Cryan is on the wrong side of the play, and out of nowhere, V5 get themselves 5.
RNG end up fighting 4 versus 5, and V5 say, thank you very much, we'll take all this extra gold. Now, they can move in towards this mid lane, they can shove this in, they can go over towards Rift Herald. Like, they've got so many opportunities now to take down these big objectives that can start to unlock this game for them. This here could be a big turning point for V5.
Huge lead now in that. Well, they've got a 2,000 gold lead now for themselves as Ming contesting in this mid lane. But PP gonna be and Week4 maybe can finish this one off with the demolish damage. He's not gonna go for the last auto attack. The tower survives at least for now. You see Wei moving up towards the top side of the map. I can't tell if he's on Scuttle Crab or if he's actually on that Herald itself, but I think it's just the Scuttle Crab for now. As Ming's actually gonna get caught up here. And Audi just shreds him. This Camille is monumentally massive at this point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, look at the item comparison. You've only just finished Strikebreaker as Xiaohu. You've already got the Divine Sunder. And now you're already most of the way towards that Ravenous Hydra as well here. Like, Audi's massive. And with that pick, they're able to go over towards the Rift Herald uncontested. And we're starting to see now this V5 game plan come into action. And when these outer turrets go down, it becomes so much easier to opt into this 1-3-1 because you can get the deep vision. You can give that freedom to your solo laners to actually push forward.
Interesting to see Weik4 going for a Kraken Slayer this game. This is not the standard Misfortune build. Usually it's going to be the Gale Force or, like, you know, the Eclipse or something along those lines if you really are trolling. That was beautiful from Audi, though. Hextech Ultimatum as the headbutt comes in.
Yeah, and absolutely beautiful. The big issue here was, look at where Cryan is. Like, the entire time this fight is going on, you've had the TP come in from Mole. He gets this lane faster. Cryan is trying to walk his way down. So what V5 have already dealt with everyone on RNG by the time Cryan gets there. The Equalizer does some damage, but you just don't have it for the team fight, which is where they really wanted it. Now, though, V5, you can see them grouping up. in this mid lane as 3 members. They're looking to get down this last outer structure, and already Mole and Audi are out in these side lanes. They're slowly starting to get this deep vision in onto the RNG side. So with this next dragon coming up, RNG need to clear out that vision on bot side and get control of this river.
So 1 minute on that dragon, and you know, V5, they would love to not have to use the Herald on the tier 1 in the mid lane. It might end up being the call just for the sake of getting priority for this Drake. In they go. Audi is not going to wait around. Onto Ming he goes. He's got the true damage to finish off the cow, but Crown with a good equalizer forces the Zhonya's out of Wei. Doesn't have flash and he's taken down. That's a massive shutdown into the pocket of Wei. Blue buff will be taken, though, for V5, who posture around this mid lane. They're going to get a second charge here. Don't know whether they can actually pressure this tower for themselves, but maybe they go for a tower dive instead. Fate Seal, bullet time over the top, but it's just out of range. Now maybe the re-engage from RNG. Wei is off towards the backside, but Audi's like, I don't think so, buddy. You may have 4 legs, but I got 2 and they're made of sword. In they go straight up to Wei. Denies the jump over the wall. I don't know if that was denied or if it wasn't in range, but crucial as Wei goes down. Infernal Drake is just spawning. Weik4 forced to flash. Gala trying to close the gap here, trying to finish off some kills. Mole gets onto the blast cone, jumps out to safety. No kills for the side of RNG here, but maybe a Drake.
I don't know if they can start up the Drake, though. They have no jungler, and Wei is back out on the map. Looks like, though, he won't be able to get there in time, so RNG still secure the dragon, but a lot of kills going over in favor of V5. And when we're looking at, you know, getting these solo laners up and running, gold is way more valuable for V5. They want to be making sure that they're getting these big advantages. They already have that top tier 2 down. The mid lane tier 2 is really struggling. However, I'm kind of digging RNG right now. Having 3 dragons, you can easily force V5 to fight, and now you're on a timer because you got to deal with Baron and the dragon as V5.
No, Wei gets caught out by the equalizer here, but actually maybe this has gone wrong for the side of RNG. Gala is stuck here, doesn't have a way out of the fight. Audi can easily finish that kill off. Headbutt under the tower is nice from Ming, and maybe is going to find a return kill, but Weik4 surviving for now. The tower shot doesn't finish him. He's walking away with the lantern shield. Wei now ticking down, but Audi gets the damage shield at the last possible second. Somehow lives through the fight, and V5 get everything.
I was saying how intelligent RNG were, how they were so smart with how they engaged, understanding their comp strengths. They've just been running it. They've just been walking into V5 and getting picked for the last 10 minutes straight. Just take a 5v5 fight. Not 4v5, not 1v5, 5v5. Please, for the love of God, RNG.
Yeah, and Audi, he's got his MMA gloves on right now because he is here to brawl. He is loving this game right now. He's so fed on the Camille. And another hook from PP God. That's going to be the Baron for V5. And if they needed something to snowball off the back of, that is it. That is a huge gold lead now for them.
So when I was yelling about 1v5, I also meant that 1v4, 1v3 was also included in that statement. So there's no need, RNG, to try and contest the Baron as a solo person. That's not going to work out. But again, I mean, Ming going in here, all they need to do is just wait for the rest of RNG. Go in as a 5-man unit. That's where you're strong. But right now, you don't have Xiaohu, you don't have Wei, and RNG are very much capable of just bursting through that or through what is the little front line that Ming offers right now.
Yeah, this was beautiful from Mole and Audi as well. The strength in these solo lanes. And, you know, people weren't sure about the fact that they were playing Audi over Lanxing, but I guess Lanxing is this kind of weak side top laner. Maybe this is the way forward. Maybe Audi can be a carry top laner on the side of V5 and breathe a different style into this top side. So they can play through not just the Herald, but the top lane and the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw Audi on EDG, he was really strong on things like those weak side top laners, like the Mordekaiser and that, but certainly he was able to bring out these really strong carry performances. So I like that you're getting both as... Okay.
Oh, hang on. Audi has seen an enemy and immediately has pressed all of his buttons in that direction. He might have gone a little too deep on this one, but the bullet time could answer. As PP God gets the play, Ming will go down, and Wei wants to gallop off into the sunset. He wants it to be like an old Western movie, but it just ain't. This is modern action.
And it's all over. RNG, you've waited too long. You've given too much gold to V5. They are fully in control of this game. And your team fight, it just doesn't cut it anymore.
The equalizer onto the wave. Actually, it's not onto the wave.
It doesn't hit
it's
the
missed
wave.
everything. It's a disastrous
Oh,
equalizer.
God. Oh, no.
That's going to be inhib. I think V5 have to back away, though. People are respawning. It would be disrespectful to try and get more.
Yeah, it really would. But look, V5, they're firmly in the driver's seat. You can see there, even in... They didn't have crying for the fight, yeah. But this team fight is not going the way of RNG anymore. This Dragon now, in a minute, although it could have been a win condition for V5, the last 3 plays where they've just fed gold in towards V5 means you're getting towards the third item on a lot of their carries, whereas when you look at the opposite side, you're still waiting on those second items to really come through. This is just V5 now running away with this game.
I just want to point out that that metaphor is used so often in League of Legends of who's in the driver's seat. The idea of people swapping between driver's seat and passenger seats, it's so difficult. It's like impossible to climb between the seats in a car. The implication that that's as easy as it is in League of Legends. But let's talk about this Drake Dagda. It's up in 40 seconds. What have RNG got left in the tank, if anything, to fight and try and get this Infernal Soul?
I don't think you fight for the soul here. I mean, what you do instead is you try and get some of this gold back in your pocket. I would prefer to see RNG clearing the top wave and trying to get this mid tower.
All right, so we're favoring V5 in the all-in right now, and they're clearly looking for it. Flash forward from PP God, but the Gale Force dodges it. RNG grouping up. Remember, Ming can really brute force a fight if V5 stack up. Xiaohu takes out a massive chunk on the Q. I think that was maybe a Kraken Slayer Q that came out. I'm not entirely sure on the interaction. In they go onto Y4, but the Lantern keeps him safe. In Mole goes, and the bullet time across the squad as well, but health bars still surviving for now. Audi's kind of left alone, but Y4 started to shred these health bars. The Misfortune has been left unchecked and is deleting everybody. Featherstorm, everything Gala can do is here, but it's not enough. And V5, they take themselves the fight and maybe the game.
This is it. This is the game. V5, they played out this early game beautifully. It looked a little bit dicey when we saw like this 10-minute dive bot for RNG starting to swing the game in their favor, but Wei, Audi and Mole have been on point throughout this and have been able to find the victory.
Beautiful stuff from V5, and we get ourselves a 3-game series. We get to see these 2 golden squads going the distance. And V5 showing us why we need to be hyped about this squad. Showing us why this isn't just a middle-of-the-table team. This is a team contesting those top spots.
It definitely was. And it's nice to see that they're doing it with a bit of a different style, where we usually do see these more teamfight-orientated styles come out, where we're looking at like PP God being these big engage tools and having Wei dealing a heap of the damage. But instead, we see them going towards this more